Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Cliff Yates Show podcast. As always, you are in the right place. So glad you're here. These 3 decisions, you make them daily, and they change your life. You can look back and see what those decisions did. It's in our decisions that our life is transformed, changed for the better or for the worst. It's our choice. These 3 decisions that we make on a daily basis, what we focus on, right? What we're going to look at is a decision. What we're going to focus on, the meaning that we're going to give to what we're focusing on, the meaning that we give to everything, and then what we're going to do about it. What are we going to do in response to what we've been focusing on, the meaning that we gave to it, and now we're going to take some action or not. What we're going to do about it. Sometimes it's do nothing, and sometimes it's do the wrong thing. And sometimes we've done the great thing, and sometimes it's by accident, sometimes it's with intention. But these 3 decisions, we make them every day on a constant basis. What we're going to focus on, the meaning that we're going to give to it, and what we're going to do about it. If you look back in history, your history, look back and think about some of those decisions that you made. Think about what you decided as far as what you were focusing on, the meanings you gave to it, and what you actually did. It's in those decisions that shaped the trajectory and the direction of your life. You can look back and see, wow, those decisions, who I went with, who I broke up with, who I married, who I divorced, what job I kept, what job I quit, what job I went after, where I lived, those decisions. And they were all caused by what we decided to focus on, the meaning we gave to things, and what we did about those first 2. Now, looking back, we can see how we ended up where we are based on those decisions. We can't change those decisions. No, but going forward, we can be more intentional with what we focus on, the meaning that we give to things, and then what we do about them. And sometimes when we're being more intentional with our thoughts and the meaning that we give to things, it causes a pause between the meaning that we've given to something and the action we decide to take. And sometimes that pause prior to taking the action can save us. Sometimes it's the best choice to make is to take that pause when we can, when we have the opportunity to ask maybe an empowering question between something that stimulated or affected us and we decide how we're going to respond to it. Instead of reacting, we're going to respond. And when I started doing that, asking that question, what's my outcome on this? What's the next best thing I can do? If I do this, what is most likely going to happen? Ooh, I don't want that. What if I do this? Most likely, it's going to go that way. I'm going to choose that road. Sometimes the pause in between the stimulus and the response is the moment that's going to give us some insight to make the best decision for us going forward. Thinking with intention, thinking on purpose. That's what we need to focus on, right? Where focus goes, energy flows, right? They say like you're in a race car. You know what? Don't look at the wall. Stop looking at the wall. You're going to go where you're looking. You're looking at the wall and you're going to crash into the wall. Race car drivers learn this. And so they're looking ahead to the next curve, the next turn. They're not focusing on the wall because they know where focus goes, energy flows. Focusing on the wall is going to be exactly where they go. It's been proven. It happens. We learn that in police work. Believe it or not. Yeah. A lot of people driving at night, when they see those red emergency flashing lights, they start focusing on them and they smash right into the back of that police car because that's where they're looking and that's where they're going to go. Change where you look and it's going to change the direction and the trajectory of your life. Change the questions that you assign to what's happening. That's going to change the meaning. When I look back and I got into personal growth and self-improvement, and I often talk about how when I changed things began to change for me, which is true. But really what was changing was what I was focusing on, the meaning that I was giving to it, and what I did about it. That's really the big change that happened. If I dig a little deeper, it's not just that I changed what I was focusing on, the meaning that I was giving to it, and what I did about it. And so do it with intention. Think on purpose. And sometimes what we focus on changes on an hourly basis, on a moment-to-moment basis, depending on what we're doing. When I was a police officer working the streets of Los Angeles, depending on what I was doing at that particular moment would change my focus. If I was on a traffic stop, I was tunnel visioned on that traffic stop. At the same time, I was aware of having tunnel vision could get me killed. So I wanted to focus and be totally aware of what was happening with the driver, the passengers, and what was going on around me. And so I was intentionally tunnel visioned to a certain extent. But I was definitely controlling my focus and constantly giving meaning to what was happening. The occupants in the car were making movements, and I was assigning meaning to those movements on a microsecond basis, because in a traffic stop situation, it could be life or death. So the heightened awareness was ramped up depending on the situation. The circumstance that was happening can control your focus. If you're at home after dinner playing catch with your children and you're focused on having fun with your kids, that's a little bit different than if you're at work and you're focusing on the task at hand at your job. So sometimes it depends on the role that we're in throughout our day. But if you look back, you're going to see, man, it was in the moments of decision that your life changed. And going forward, we can be more intentional with what we're focusing on, the meaning that we give to things, and what we do about it. One of the things that I decided to do when I got into self-improvement, personal growth, and I started reflecting on my own actions and results that I was getting, and I realized it wasn't the negative relatives, it wasn't the economy or the president, it was me. I was my own biggest problem, and I was the solution. So when you first realize that, and it's true for all of us, you can take the meaning of that to be you are totally empowered to make the decisions that will affect your life. No one else is going to have that power unless you give it over to them. And that can really be a great thing. It can really energize us, give us enthusiasm to go forward with intentional thinking. Yeah, I just remember assigning a meaning. I assigned a meaning to one of my supervisors when I was on the LA Sheriff's Department. I assigned the meaning. And I decided a long time after that, you know what, I got to stop mind reading. I assigned a meaning to what this sergeant was doing. He was out to get me. He was doing things to me. But I had graduated a little bit in my self-improvement, and I did a little investigation. Got to know that sergeant a little better, engaged him in some conversation, met him for coffee. And my investigation revealed that I was totally wrong. This sergeant was not out to get me. He was not after me. He was not doing anything to me. That was the meaning that I had given to what he did that involved me. And I was wrong, totally wrong. And so now I learned going forward to be careful on what meaning that I gave to what other people were doing. I stopped mind reading and deciding what people were thinking and doing because I had no control over what they were thinking and doing. And I got rid of any anxiety or worry about what other people were doing. And I stopped assigning meaning that was not empowering to me, that was not good for me. I mean, if you're going to assign a meaning that's not true, make it something that's going to empower and is good for you. Decide that somebody is doing something to try to help you. Maybe you could decide that. So it's so empowering to change the meaning that we give to things that are happening, to the thoughts that we're having, and that is going to change what we do, and it's going to change the direction and trajectory of our lives. And we make these 3 decisions every damn day. on a constant basis. What am I going to focus on? The meaning I give to it, and what am I going to do? Today, I'll give you a real life example. I'm here on my private island here, the family's private island in the Thousand Islands, New York. And an alarm went off in my aerobic septic system. This septic system is quite an advanced system, but it has all sorts of alarms and bells on it. And the alarm went off, and I went out there and I hit the reset button, and then the blower pump to the system stopped working, and the whole system shut down. Ooh. And then I had to focus on what to do next. And I was able to get a hold of my engineer who put the system in, and I sent pictures to him what exactly happened. And he got back to me and said, that's an easy fix. It won't be expensive. I can come out tomorrow. And then I was done focusing on that. Could I do anything else? Yeah. I focused on what could I do to make sure that I didn't hurt the system any further. I knew that I could take my shower in the river here. I could jump in the river, take a shower in the river. I could limit the amount of bathroom use throughout the day and have a limited impact on the system until my engineer comes tomorrow. So now that I did those things or decided that line of action, then I could let it go. I didn't need to focus on it anymore. There was no more need for anxiety or worry. I had done everything I could do in that situation. Can I do any more? No. Now I can focus on something else. I focused on something that I've gone over many, many times over the years, and that is the 3 decisions that we make every day, what we focus on, the meaning we give to it, and what we do about it. And so I said, I'm doing a podcast on that tonight. I'm going to focus on that subject and how I'm going to talk about it instead of focusing on my septic system that is shut down. I can't do any more with it. I've taken all the action I need to take. I have no more control over any of it until tomorrow when the engineer comes. And now that allowed me the freedom to focus on creating this podcast episode for you, because I am focused on creating content that can make a difference in other people's lives. Because I learned a long time ago, having a positive impact on somebody else, no greater joy. If you haven't tried it, I would encourage you to try it. Start from where you are. If you haven't done it or haven't focused on it or haven't given a meaning to it and done anything about it, start with the people closest to you. Start with your family, maybe a mother, a father, son, daughter, brother, sister. Hey, somebody you work with. Try having a positive impact on that person. Be encouraging in some way. Give them a authentic, legitimate compliment. You're going to be surprised at the effect that your new attitude on them is going to have on them, and it's going to come back to you. The law of compensation always works. Not once in a while, not maybe every single time. Now, maybe not in the time frame that you would like, maybe not instantaneously, but if you're putting love, encouragement, positive vibrations, frequencies out in the world, you're out there and you have an attitude to serve. I want to serve other people. I want to serve. The universe is going to come back to you with an attitude of, how can I serve you? It's amazing how it works. If you think it's blah, blah, and a bunch of BS, I would encourage you to try it. Because if you have that attitude, you have that opinion, I'm telling you, I know you haven't tried it. Because I've done it, tried it, and I've had the return on the investment of time, energy, and it comes back tenfold. I get excited just thinking about it. So today, that was the message. Those 3 decisions in our decision, that's when transformation happens. That's when great things start to happen, because it's in the decision that we change how we think, we change the emotions that we start to experience, and that changes our vibration, changes our frequency, and it changes what we attract to ourselves. Emotions are so powerful. They're so meaningful. I'll use a metaphor that Jim Rohn used to use when he talks about the power of applying emotions to words. Words spoken without emotions are like pins, little safety pins, hitting your wool jacket. They don't even penetrate. They hit and they fall, meaningless to the ground. Words without emotions. You take words and you apply strong, meaningful emotions to those words, and you deliver them in a powerful, meaningful way. And it's like taking that pin and wiring it to a heavy steel bar and thrusting it into the heart of the person you're talking to. Oh, it'll penetrate that jacket. It penetrates to the heart. It'll move people. It'll move people. That's the difference that people make who are speakers. Some people speak with words, and then some people speak with words attached to strong emotions. And that gets to the heart of people that they're speaking to. That's what makes a difference. Heartfelt emotions expressed in a meaningful, powerful way. You got this. I'm telling you. I've done it. I've experienced it. That's why I like to share it. These are the kind of things that I got into studying a long time ago. Why? Because I had an emotion that can be empowering. Sometimes disgust. Disgust can be a strong emotion that moves you to take the action you need to take. Sometimes you say to yourself, and maybe out loud, I'm disgusted. Never again. I am not going to do that again. Maybe it's someone selling Girl Scout cookies who comes to the door and you don't have even $1 to give. And you say, never again will a Girl Scout come to my door and I won't have cash to buy Girl Scout cookies. Never again will I not have cash in my pocket. And that's going to give you leverage to take action on the things that you know you should be doing. Because that's what most messes with the mind when we're not living up to our highest potential. Someone asked, I make $50,000 a year. Is that enough? Yes, that's enough if it's the best you can do. And if it's not the best you can do, then it's not enough. That's what most messes with the mind when we are not living up to our highest potential. When we know that we're meant for more, you know in your heart and mind if you're meant for more. You know in your heart and mind if you're not taking the actions that you know you should be taking. But that's all right. Awareness is step one. Step one, self-awareness. I know. I need to be taking actions on a dream, an ambition, a goal that I've had in my heart and mind for so long. Don't let that stop you. If it creates disgust in you, that's okay, because sometimes disgust will give us leverage. And that's sometimes what we need. Sometimes we're a little bit too content. Well, things are going okay. They're pretty good. Pretty good. Going okay might not move us to take action. I'm disgusted. I've had it. I'm so frustrated. I'm not going to take it anymore. Now, that might move us. That might give us leverage on ourselves to take the actions we need to take. And so disgust can be a powerful emotion. There's a lot of emotions that can be powerful. We need to use them with intention. We need to do it. And we will do it. I know you got this. I have more faith in you than you do in yourself. I am telling you, only because I look back. And I ask you to look back and look at some of the decisions that you make. Today, when I was thinking about the subject of this podcast, what I've focused on in the past, the meaning that I've given to certain things and what I did about it, then I realized those decisions changed my life dramatically in a big, big way. And a couple of those big ones where I left my job of 5 years at the Livingston County Sheriff's Department and I moved 3,000 miles to California, to Los Angeles, starting a new job from scratch. I had to have big leverage to make that big move. Sometimes I think about how I almost didn't make the move. The leverage was enough, almost not. Almost didn't take it. had some voices telling me, what are you doing? What are you doing? Your family's here. You've worked here 5 years. Why do you think you should do this? Think about it before you make this move. This is a big move. You don't know anybody out there. You have a good job here. You have a great reputation. You have a future here in this organization. What are you doing? Sometimes those voices can have an effect on you if we let them. Luckily, I had put into my subconscious mind the decision to go forward with the big move. I knew that it's something that I wanted and intended to make, and I had an idea. If I didn't do it, the price of regret would have weighed too much on my mind to the point it might have ruined me. So sometimes we look back on the decisions we made and we thank God we made them, especially when we know almost didn't make that one, and it turned out to be one of my greatest decisions of my life, right? So I'm glad that I was focusing on getting a job with a large metropolitan police agency. As I worked in upstate New York for a little tiny sheriff's department, I was focusing on my desire, my want, my burning desire to work for a large metropolitan police agency. The meaning that I gave to that was a mystery but exciting. It was going to be opening doors to a whole new life of excitement, of growth, of all new experiences in city life. That was the meaning that I gave to it, which caused me to do something about it. I was reading police magazines and I was answering ads that said, Houston Police, we're hiring. LAPD, we're hiring. LA County Sheriff, we're hiring. Call 1-800-LASD, get your application today. And I called. I got the application. I filled it out. I sent it in. I had focused on making that big move. And I gave a meaning that it was going to be a new and exciting, great life. And I decided what I was going to do about it. I applied to those jobs. I got called to the LA County Sheriff's Department, and I took the written test. I barely passed. I took the physical agility, but I did pass. Oh, I went to the oral interview, and I did pass. I took that first phase medical, and I did pass. Then I went back to my job. And then the decision kept weighing on me. I got assigned a background investigator from Los Angeles, and then I got the call. I had to go back out and take the polygraph exam, and I did pass it. And then they told me to go home and go back to my job and wait for the word if I was going to be hired. All those weeks went by, and I had no idea when that call might come through. And along the way, sometimes I wavered. What if I get the call? If I got it today, would I say yes? Yes, I will say yes. Sometimes it was, no, I'm going to stay where I am. No. The call came. This is the LA County Sheriff's Department. Do you want a job? Yes. I didn't even know I was going to say that. When can you be here? Well, it'll take me a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks to tie things up here and give notice. Okay, be here at the Academy, 211 West Temple Street at December 21st, 8 a.m. Wow. Of course, I'm thinking, 4 days before Christmas, I guess the Academy is starting then. No, I get out to Los Angeles, right? 3-day drive. Actually, I made it a 5-day drive. I stopped at my cousin's place in Kansas City. And then I find out my Academy wasn't starting until January of 1984. But they told me to be there December 21st, 1983. It wasn't necessary. I could have spent Christmas with my family. My last Christmas before I completed my 30 years with the LA County Sheriff's Department. But there's an example in my life, what I was focusing on, the meaning that I gave to it, and the decisions that I made because of those first two. So take that to the bank. Do that going forward tonight. Do it tomorrow with intention. Pay attention. What am I focusing on? What is the meaning that I'm giving to it? And What am I going to do about it? Do that in every situation. But now that you're more self-aware that you're making those decisions on a constant basis, you're going to be self-aware of how important each one of those decisions is and how often you are making that decision. Focus is important. Meaning is really, really big. Meaning is going to make so much difference in what we do the next step. Right? When I changed the meaning, when I adopted a philosophy that I read or heard about over and over again, which was through every adversity, there's an equal or greater opportunity if we'll just look for it. And so I started applying that in everything that happened, right? Every adversity that I had that came up, hey, through every adversity, there's an equal or greater opportunity if I'll just look for it. Sometimes it just changed the meaning, and it made me thankful that I had the tragedy or the challenge or the adversity. I got a flat tire. For a second, I started focusing on why me, and then I immediately changed. What's good about this? I asked an empowering question, and I reminded myself through every adversity, there's an equal or greater opportunity. I knew that my tires were going bad. As a matter of fact, I needed to change all 4 tires, not just one, right? And then I put a meaning on it that maybe it was true, maybe it wasn't. Ooh, you know what? Thank God that I had the flat tire here. Thank God I have AAA. They're going to come and change my tire, and I have the funds now to replace all 4 tires. If I hadn't had this blowout here, I might have had it on the freeway. I might have had a blowout going somewhere at high speed, spun out into oncoming traffic, hit a truck, and got killed. Maybe God protected me, and I had the blowout here. Thank you, Lord, for giving me the blowout here. And then I changed my focus on what is the problem? Flat tire. Okay, what are my options and solutions? Change the tire myself. I have AAA. I pay for it. They'll come out, change the tire for me. Pull the trigger on one of those action plans, and if it doesn't work, pull the trigger on the next one. That's what we have to do immediately when we have a problem. Define the problem, solutions, come up with a few, pull the trigger on an action plan with one of those solutions. If that doesn't work, go to the next one. And it works every single time. That philosophy, if you start addressing problems and solutions and adversities with that philosophy, you're not going to be so frustrated and anger. You're going to be able to handle anything that comes your way because you know through every adversity, there's an equal or greater opportunity if you will just look for it. These are empowering things once we make the decision to focus on them. When we focus on what we focus on and we start changing the meaning that we give to things and we decide what we're going to do about it, that's going to have a positive outcome on everybody involved. And that's a good question to ask before you make the decision on what to do. You can run that through your filter. Okay, what's my outcome on this if I do this? If you have the time between the focus, the meaning, and what you do about it, then you can look at options and you can pull the trigger on what you think the best option is. What we have to do is make a decision. What if I make the wrong decision? It's better than no decision. Every single time. Not once in a while. Sometimes. Every time. A decision is better than no decision. Get off the fence. Do not be on the fence. What if it's on the wrong side? You can always get to the other side. Don't sit on the fence on anything. Be decisive. Take action in a positive way. You can be bold and not a bully. You can be powerful at the same time being gentle. Scripture says to be wise as a serpent and gentle as a dove. The problem is those two usually don't go together. People that are wise as a serpent are not usually gentle as a dove. And people that are usually gentle as a dove are not normally wise as a serpent. Scripture says Strive to be both. We can do it. Powerful and gentle. We can do it. Take the lessons from your past going forward. You're a wiser person than you were yesterday. You have the knowledge to do better things, to become more. You can be better. I can be better. All of us can continually get better every day in every way than we were yesterday. And that's exciting. I hope that this episode had a positive impact on you. If you think somebody might benefit from hearing this episode of my show, then share it with somebody else. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel on YouTube. And if you haven't already, leave a comment on one of the podcast platforms and follow the show. I always try 100% to give and create content that has value to it. Usually it's stuff that I tried. I may not have come up with the idea, the philosophy, or the strategy, but I probably gave it a try and I got some kind of results from it. And now you can see what happened in my life, and then you can make the decision if you might want to try it in your own life. And there's a good chance it might benefit you in a positive way. All right, everybody. You know I love you, and I'll see you in the next episode.